Hello and welcome back to another day in the arena. It's me, it's CGB, and today in the arena we're revisiting the Arclight Phoenix deck. This deck's been lurking around. It was a major player in Ravnica Allegiance Standard for a while there, as well as the Drakes build. Both kind of Izzet Drakes and Izzet Phoenix have been here since Guilds of Ravnica, and they have mattered a lot. And then they've kind of just been lurking since War of the Spark came out. Some players are using them to great success. We've seen it win a few Magic Online MCQs, Mythic Championship qualifiers, and we saw some of them in the top 16. There were, I believe, 3 copies in the top 16 of the Mythic Championship qualifier on Arena. But the thing is, a lot of people are very mixed about where you want to play this deck. Is the red matchup good? Is Arclight Phoenix where you want to be to take on a bunch of planeswalkers? Because it's very hard to defend your planeswalkers from flying haste creatures regularly. And questions like that still need to be answered. And quite honestly, I'm working on this myself. This pile it's got card choices that are all over the place. And to be honest with you all, you might have noticed in my style of deck building, I like a lot of 4-ofs. I like a lot of consistency. I like to narrow down an exact card that's best for a situation and do my best to draw it as often as possible. That's what I enjoy in deck building. Not a lot of 1 and 2-ofs, which kind of shows to me a lack of focus or a lack of knowing exactly what's important. To be honest, here I completely... Also, I'm going to say really quickly, that's my, if you see me using a lot of 1s and 2s, that's me having a lack of focus and not being sure what's important. It doesn't mean other people didn't do their fine-tuning and their homework and come to exactly the right numbers. I just want to point that out. I'm not judging everybody else's style, I'm judging my own. So, this deck, I am still all over the place on, for sure. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be running Coil or Strike there. They both have applications right now. I'm tempted to play more Lightning Strikes because of the Planeswalkers in the meta, but as soon as I do, somebody plays a Rekindling Phoenix and my whole deck is pointless. That card stops pretty much everything I'm doing, at least in the main deck. So things like that lead me to play some Lava Coils still. I have no idea if I want to play another Tormenting Voice, another Radical Idea, or more Discoveries. So this is what I'm doing for now. It's a weird build. I do think I want more Spell Pierce. The problem with Spell Pierce is when you have 2 of them and you need to get your Arclight back, it's so bad. So I'm sticking to 1 for now. And against decks that run creatures but not spells, I've got some sideboard. I can just easily sideboard it out and bring in a Shivan Fire. Against decks that are higher on spells where Spell Pierce is good, I can sub in a lot more of these. Take out some creature removal like Lava Coil and Beacon Bolt, something like that perhaps. Moving over into the sideboard, we do have the Spell Pierce, Shivan Fire kind of shuffle that we can do. Lots of ways to become sort of the control deck if we want to bring Negate, search for Iskanta. If we want more Lava Coils, there they are. If we want a sweeper, Fiery Cannonade is available. If we don't need a sweeper but need more threats, Legion Warboss is available. And so are some uncounterable threats in Commence the Endgame and Niv-Mizzet Perun. Niv-Mizzet's been taking a bit of a breather on the bench because it's rather easy to kill by all of the removal spells out there, and it's not particularly good against Teferi or planeswalkers like either Teferi or other planeswalkers that remove creatures like Ugin. But if you come up against the right kind of deck, perhaps this is your boy. In the mirror match too, this is your boy. No doubt about that. Also, I didn't cover the biggest addition to the deck, Finale of Promise. This says you may cast 1 instant and up to 1 sorcery from your graveyard without paying their mana costs as long as X is greater than those costs. So that's pretty hype because this is a spell, and then the 2 cards that you cast without paying their mana cost, such as Tormenting Voice and Lightning Strike, are also spells, which is 3 spells. So 3 spells in 1 brings back, Arclight Phoenix. Hence, a few Finale of Promise to make sure that you do not run out of gas later in the game. It seems really good for the deck. All right, let's go play a ranked match and show you how it all comes together, and we'll see what we can do. Okie dokes. right away, we've got Opt into Augur. We have an Arclight ready to go, a Beacon Bolt that might hit something, a Crackling Drake on deck. I can keep this hand. We'll just wait to see what our opponent plays so that we have a better understanding of what our Opt should do. As a Blood Crypt, some kind of Grixis means we probably want pressure and probably don't need a Lightning Strike. So let's bottom that for now. Goblin Electromancer. I think I like playing the Augur of Bolas first. Goblin Electromancer, when you play it, you want to get value out of it because it will quickly die. So what we're looking for is a Chart a Course, Tormenting Voice, or Discovery with our Augur. If we hit one, next turn we can play Electromancer and play that spell at a discount. And there are basically all the different cards we need. Putting these on the bottom is pretty sad, to be honest. I think the best one of the bunch is always going to be a Chart a Course, though. So let's grab that one. A tragedy to put it on the bottom, but Chart a Course has the option of simply drawing 2 cards if we get in with our Augur. No! I think that means the Chart a Course is going away, but we'll see. Our opponent, of course, gets their choice of a card in our hand. Ooh, it feels so bad. Especially now that I put the Tormenting Voice and the Radical ID on the bottom. I need to draw more of those if they take the chart. They might not take the chart, though. The Crackling Drake's the strongest threat. The Electromancer can get out of control if they don't have an easy answer. Also, my deck is just full of effects like this, so taking this is lining up to get yourself punished if I draw more. And here's another Augur. So do we chart for 2 or Augur for another card? The opponent kept on top. That's almost always another Thought Erasure. I'm just... Actually, I guess hitting my land drops is pretty crucial, and if my opponent Thought Erasures me again, they'll probably take this Drake, so we want to get there. But at the same time, having another Augur down seems really good. I'm torn. I'm going to go with the Augur this time. I'm not sure if that's right, but these chip shots could matter. Having a second Chart a Course seems good to just keep stockpiling our resources. It lets us play kind of a different paced game. I'm not in a hurry to opt this turn. So, yeah, other Chart a Course makes our hand much more Thought Erasure proof. And with 2 threats and 2 charts, it seems like we'll get to attack and draw 2 next turn, no matter what our evil opponent wants to do to our mind. Search for Azcanta. Yep, that's an annoying one. So, I think that the right play here, though, is just to cast an Arclight Phoenix and get in. There are exile effects that would make me sad, but I think making the opponent have them is pretty wise. You could also go for the Crackling Drake. The problem with the Crackling Drake, of course, is if the opponent has spot removal. They're tapped out now, so we know this hits, which is why I'm more inclined to go straight for Arclight Phoenix and apply the pressure. Search for Azcanta. Keeps on top. Land is hit. Nicole Bolas is here. So it seems like dropping off the Beacon Bolt is fine. It's not strong enough yet, and it has this jumpstart mechanic where it comes back. Now that we have the shock, we can shock down the Ravager if it blocks the Arclight. So I like attacking, casting at least 1 Chart a Course. If the opponent blocks the Bolas, the shock can kill it. Another option would be to try to Chart a Course into a land and put enough spells in the graveyard for Beacon Bolt, but I think we're going to end up short on that plan. Let's go. And there is the block. Phoenix goes to the graveyard, where hopefully it's pretty safe. Let's fire a Chart a Course off. We do hit a land. Let's do another Chart a Course. Just fill this hand to the brim. And we have a Spell Pierce, which I would love to use or hold up, but instead I'm going to go with the shock to make sure that the Bolas is dead. The Beacon Bolt is on 4, so the next Bolas is in trouble. I'll have a big decision if there's another Bolas, as I'm not sure which card I want to discard. The opponent finally has to respect some Augur or Bolus, and Augur eating an Angrat's Rampage is pretty great. So we could bring back the Arclight. There's 3 mana open, which I don't think that's good enough to make our opponent a way to exile the Arclight, is what I'm trying to say. Sorry. So there's Opt, there's Lightning Strike, or there's Finale. Finale right now can get back Chart of Course and Shock, which is decent. We could also play the Lightning Strike and get more damage in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We'd have to hit another land, wouldn't we? To double Lightning Strike. So with that, I don't think that's quite going to work. Let's see what we hit with the Opt, because we can still Finale after the Opt if we get really lucky here. Another Shock. Well, more burn can't be too bad. I think I'll just head straight upstairs, hold that Finale, because I don't have a sorcery that can deal the damage. There is some stick here. The opponent might be sitting on a Bedevil, something like that. We do have a Spell Pierce, though. Lines up very well. Drop our opponent to 1 potentially here. 3 cards in the graveyard means that the Azcanta isn't quite flipping yet. So do we go for this? The biggest risk is Enter the God Eternals if the opponent has that. I think that the damage is worth it. Having the opponent at 1 means that the Finale is lethal, and there are many top decks that are lethal, and the Augur itself remains lethal. Whereas whatever the opponent might cast soon, aside from Enter the God Eternals, is it's hard to deal with. So, got Vraska's Contempt. They're up to 3, but they're going to die to the Finale. So, it's all good. Strike and chart. And that will do it. All right. Grixis. Seems like a Spell Pierce style deck for certain. Cry of the Canarium, pretty big problem. They can't really deal with the search for Azcanta. I think that they can easily deal with the Niv. I don't think that they're going to be a counter spell deck, so I don't know about Commence the Endgame either. It feels like having some threat diversity in Legion Warboss will be nice. Lava Coil is good against Bolus. Also good if they bring in Rekindling Phoenix. I haven't seen their decks doing that very often. It is a thing, and the Lightning Strike going face really mattered. Shock isn't particularly good in this matchup, though. It's not good for saving things from Cry, and it doesn't kill many of the opponent's creatures, and I don't think that they will bring in Legion Warboss of their own. I like the Negate. So what other cards are worth trimming? They probably have plenty of easy mode removal for the Electromancer, but making them have it seems good. Because we do have to run through their removal somehow. We did get a lot more reactive, though. And being reactive isn't quite great for that. Maybe we can do without the Lightning Strikes. Tormenting Voice seems important. Radical Idea seems slow. We could definitely cut some, we could definitely shave a little bit of these cards. Maybe one Electromancer is fine. Drawing 2 would be so weak, and because of that, one Radical Idea. Radical Idea and Electromancer often travel together, as this card is not very good without Electromancer around. If you're paying full price for it, it's not that strong. All right. We'll see how our opponent sideboards and see if this can get there. The turn 2 search is probably the highlight of this hand, as there's almost no way for a Grixis deck to deal with it other than that turn 2 Thought Erasure, and they're mulliganing to 5. So, and scrying to the bottom. Two Lava Coils, and no blue source here for the turn 2 Thought Erasure, which means the Azcanta gets to come down. Some stick here. What could that be? Not a Carnival Carnage. Huh. I'm trying to think of what has no targets that would fit here. The opponent takes the War Boss right away after top decking the blue source. They bin a Bolus. That's pretty telling. Let's keep this because it gives us 2 looks at lands. Might just hit it. And it's our turn to brick on land, at least for a moment. Let's deposit the Arclight Phoenix into the graveyard here. And the opponent passes the turn. Our own Augur of Bolus. Well, it keeps spells coming, but it's not land. However, I don't like putting away creatures when my opponent plays Angrass Rampage, so I'm going to keep it, but I'm actually not going to cast it right off. I'm going to try to opt my way to another land first. Well, really want that Legion War Boss too. I want it more than I want the Augur. I'm just going to keep taking threats. We'll find the lands eventually. I think having enough threats against our opponent is where I really need to be. It's not like a Bolus of theirs will run away with the game with all these lava coils in hand. We are at the point where this is getting absurd though. So I'm going to graveyard that because it's one of the more expensive ones. And there's our land. Okay. I don't like running out the War Boss. It will die. We won't even get the token. Let's lead with an Augur. Just get something onto the battlefield. And there is our first of all of our Spell Pierces. Having to reveal it to the opponent is interesting because now they can play around it. But being able to protect our threats, I think that's where we would love to be. Discovery is not something I plan to meet with Spell Pierce. I want to keep my opponent's resources taxed. They do bin 1 land. I wonder if they kept another. They did. So now they're probably looking for an opportunity to resolve the Dragon God. Bolus the Dragon God. Because of that, I don't think I just want to throw away the War Boss. Like, the opponent will be Devil it. I'd Spell Pierce it. The opponent would untap and cast the Dragon God. I think that's a pretty bad line for me. Whereas instead, I could just poke them and use Radical Idea and just keep getting bits of advantage here. Oh, there's a Lightning Strike. Okay. Interesting. I could resolve the War Boss now. Opponent wants to play around me having a Chart Course. I still don't like it. I like going with the Radical Idea. Just more advantage. I don't need to be in a huge rush. My opponent's pretty constrained. I have a lot more resources than they do at this time, although some of them being Lava Coil isn't great, but we can edit that a little bit here. Here's a Radical Idea. Another Spell Pierce. So do I cast this? We're on 7, so I can flip this. I think right now I'll keep it in the graveyard because eventually we want the Arclight back. Graveyard. Sweet. Transform. Now we're looking for the cards that get it back. Alright, but first and foremost, let's send out a Crackling Drake. It gets value on the way in, which is the primary reason I want to cast that here. Well, we found plenty of land. And the Lava Coils aren't looking beautiful. The opponent knows about them too, so like they're not going to play their Bolus. And here's this Bolus, but I'm ready. You'll have to pay 2. You'll have to pay 2 again. The opponent says good game, as that was the crucial turning point. Being able to get their Bolus out of there, and they wants to play no longer. So I think that that game was a good example of slowing down for post-sideboard games and when to play your threats. Maneuvering with the Spell Pierce, trying to maneuver to get value with the Goblin, I want to say Goblin Rabble Master, but the Legion War Boss. We didn't quite have to do it, but I think the opponent conceded when they saw that we were going to wear them down on cards. And that's the match. I hope that you enjoyed this look at Izzet Phoenix and its matchup with Grixis, and particularly some sideboarding for those control-heavy matchups, as that's something a lot of players ask me about pretty often, how to sideboard for control decks. Against aggro, it's a little more straightforward. Take out slow cards like Radical Idea and things that die easily like Goblin Electromancer, and put in more removal spells. But against control, people often aren't sure what threats to keep, what to sideboard, and in particular, with sideboarding, the biggest hole I see in a lot of sideboarded games is people don't adjust their playstyle. The post-sideboard games are often slower games that are about card advantage, less about being hyper-aggressive. So do keep that in mind. If you played the Izzet Drake's deck from a few sets ago, and you played the Arclight Phoenix deck from a few sets ago, it's like you're the Arclight deck in game 1, but you're closer to the Drake's deck. Get a Drake and protect it with Spell Pierce in game 2. All right, we're going to call that a wrap on this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching this video, and as always, I will see you in the next video.